Hey, welcome back to Mocktails with Marina. I'm your host, Marina, and today we'll be experiencing a more behind the scenes, pocket sized episode. Let's dive into a topic that's often whispered about but rarely addressed head on in the entrepreneurial world, and that is burnout. Don't worry, I'll help you see how this is related to being a Bula Boss. Just stay tuned. In the realm of non-alc business ventures where passion meets purpose, it's really easy to fall into the trap of relentless hustle, believing that every waking moment must be sacrificed at the altar of success. But here's a perspective shift for you. Think of your entrepreneurial journey as a marathon and not a sprint. Marathon runners don't start by sprinting. They pace themselves, understanding that endurance and strategy win the race, not just speed. Your business, much like your life, is a long-term commitment. True freedom in this realm doesn't come from burning the candle at both ends, but from lighting it wisely. You're crafting a lifestyle, not just a business, and this requires you to be fully present and not burnt out. Imagine your energy as a renewable source. Conserve it, manage it, and use it where it truly counts. Now, we need to dismantle the martyrdom myth right now. Because there's this romanticized notion that the best entrepreneurs are those who sacrifice everything. But we need to get super real here and understand that sacrificing your health, relationships, or sanity is not noble. In fact, it's quite unnecessary. And you're not less dedicated if you take time to recharge. You're actually more strategic. Just think about it this way. When you're well rested, your creativity flourishes, your decisions are sharper, and your business thrives. This isn't about working less, right? It's recognizing that your well-being is the engine of your enterprise. If you burn out, what then? Like, who steers the ship? Your business needs you at your best, not at your breaking point. Lastly, I want you to consider this. Freedom in entrepreneurship isn't just financial or temporal, right? It's mental, it's emotional. Protecting your freedom means setting boundaries, not just in the business practices that you have cultivated, but in how you allow your work to intertwine with your life. You started this journey for a richer life, not just in wealth, but in revolutionary leadership in the entrepreneurial space, right? There's reasons you're here, and if you don't take care of yourself, you won't be able to show up and be the boss you need to be. Look, do you still not believe me? Because I get it. Sometimes you're like, but Marina, I have a lot of things I need to accomplish. There's a lot of things on the to-do list that if I don't do, I genuinely feel like my business won't work. Or I don't have the ability, time, whatever, to outsource this. So there's always an excuse that comes up, right? But I want to give you some straight, tough love right now. I have seen staff walkouts. I've seen community boycotts. I've seen revenue depletion happen to those who do not respect the balance of the mind, body, and soul. In fact, one time I worked for a company that did not take this seriously. And honestly, it's been a big inspiration as to why my husband and I started this consultation and education business in the first place. If you'd like to inspire your team and community to quit on you before you even get started, continue doing exactly what you're doing to burn yourself out. If you want to work smarter, not harder, take advantage of all of the free things that I offer, right? Otherwise, you're going to have no one to blame but yourself. And here's what I mean. I am constantly coming out with free live experiences, whether these are Q&A sessions, whether it's this podcast, whether it's workshops that if you attend live, you get to see it for free. But if you miss it and you want the recording, then you pay for that, right? All of these tools are here. But if you are in the cycle of burnout where you think you are too broke, too busy, you don't have enough time or patience or resources to do something, then you're always going to be stuck in this lane of lacking, right? This is what causes staff to leave and never look back. This is what causes community to not become brand loyal to you because you're burning the candle at both ends, right? Jaded me is about to leave. Happy me is going to come back. But this is something that's near and dear to me because I've literally worked for multiple companies that had a beautiful idea, the owner being a beautiful human being, but just becomes too weighted down by what's happening to be able to turn it into a whole thing. And then that has turned a great concept into something that people have to fight very tooth and nail for just to make a reality every day. And that's not fair, right? You want to be able to create a consistent business model where you are consistently serving people, not just when you feel like it, because that's never going to grow your business. That's going to keep you under the glass ceiling that you're currently at. So I'd love to tell you a fun little quick story, and maybe this can help you out. This is about burnout, right? So one time I grew a bar's revenue by 26% by firing the very overworked and very burnt out general manager. And what we did was we replaced that general manager with 4 part-time departmental managers. So we also installed automated check-in software that allowed everyone to stay on target with their goals and with their given projects without the wasted time of any sort of back and forth emailing. We had this crazy idea, we tested it, and it worked, right? So next, after that point, we realized that the most small business owners need, they need executive assistance, but yet don't have it. And on top of that, they don't exactly even know what they need help with in the first place, right? So that's what kind of causes some of this burnout, right? When you think you know, other things pop up that you weren't planning for, you weren't accounting for. So yeah, you finally made your work schedule be 20 hours a week, but then something else came up and turned it into a much longer thing, right? Because you didn't know what you don't know. And unfortunately, these executive positions of support, right? Whether it's chief operations officer, chief financial officer, maybe you're an owner founder that wants to hire a CEO, a chief executive officer, because you have other parts of the business. You don't want to be running it. You want to be the idea person. You want to do other things with your life, right? But oftentimes those roles cost a lot of money. And typically those roles are at least $100,000 per year per role. So how do we get that level of executive support to the small business owners that need it so that they don't burn out their teams, and then they don't fall victim to the whole, 50% of small businesses fail in the first 5 years? This is the biggest reason. Now, one can look at these things like, oh, they ran out of money. Oh, they ran out of time. Why did they do that though? Because they didn't set up boundaries in the first place. So that is what we did here at the Modern Mocktail. We chose to create an executive support system and program that costs 95% less than any executive salary ever will. And that is the Bula Boss program. And I want to mention too that Bula Boss means a lot of things, right? And I'm so excited to talk to you a little bit more about, first off, why we named it Bula Boss. Because what does Bula even mean, right? Well, Bula is a term from Fiji, and that translates to life or hello. It's basically embodying a spirit of joy, health, and community. It's something that's often said, again, not all non-alc places have kava, but kava is my root. So for us, Bula was something that was said every single day. Every time we shared a drink with someone, whether it was a staff member, a customer, a community member, a fellow business owner in the area, anytime we would begin a conversation in person within the brick and mortar, we would share whatever drink that either of us were consuming, right? We had our drinks, and we would, instead of saying cheers, we would say Bula, and we would set a little intention beforehand. You can call it a prayer. You can call it a meditation. You can call it just like hey, I see you, buddy. Thanks for being here today. Bula. Call it what you want. But the concept of the Bula came from Fiji, and each Polynesian island that has their own kava, like they all have their own version of this. But Bula is the most known term in the United States, because once kava left the traditional scene and moved into the United States, there's a whole new kava culture here, right? And there's so much we can unpack about this. And I want to mention that we will be having another podcast episode with the Kava Coalition themselves. So we're going to dive so much deeper into that, but that is not the point of this episode, right? The point of this episode is I wanted to define what we believe a Bula Boss is. And we wanted to give you the behind the scenes to the Bula Boss program, why we named it what we did, because it's our story, right? You want to know who you're learning from, but also to understand that there's a lot of different ways to be a boss, right? A boss traditionally signifies leadership. But to us, it's about empowerment. It's about autonomy. It's about vision. It's about combining the concept of Bula, right? Embodying the spirit of joy, health, and community with the way that we do business. And if we ever lose sight of that Bula, we know we're doing this wrong and we're going to burn out. We're going to not be able to finish the mission that we set out here to do, right? So a Bula Boss is someone who embodies the spirit of life, health, and community while leading with a vision that uplifts and empowers. While kava culture, like I mentioned, in the United States is different than the Polynesian islands, we're all moved very deeply by the therapeutic botanical that is kava, right? I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people really are. And it's something that we're going to learn more about. But for right now, I want to focus on the fact that it really inspires connection. And it has been the inspiration behind our desire to connect non-alc execs to the vision that they have, right? So, all of that being said, I genuinely believe that Bula Boss is the game changer that many small non-alc business owners have been waiting for. So, if you've been waiting for the right moment, in the realm of decision making, there's a fascinating principle known as Parkinson's Law, which states that work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. This concept was initially coined by Cyril Northcott, Parkinson, something like that. Anyway, this concept not only applies to the workplace, but also profoundly impacts our personal decisions and dreams. So when we allocate more time to make a decision, we inadvertently create more obstacles, overthink, and often self-sabotage. This phenomenon suggests that the longer we delay, the more we convince ourselves of the complexities involved, thus erecting higher barriers to entry for our own aspirations. Ouchie. Consider the scenario where two individuals face the same decision, right? Starting a business. One individual, crippled by self-doubt, spending months preparing, which in reality is procrastination fueled by fear and overanalysis, right? This person might research endlessly, perfect an already perfect business plan, or they might be waiting for the quote perfect moment. All the while, the perceived difficulty of the task grows. Conversely, someone with confidence and a readiness to dive in might see the same opportunity and act swiftly, understanding that perfection is an illusion and action is the only true catalyst for progress. Look, I get it. It's normally very easy to overthink things, but if you think too far ahead without having any action, of course you're going to trip over your thoughts. That's just how it goes. That's how our brains work. Welcome to being human. Here, Parkinson's Law reveals itself, not just in the expansion of work to fit time, but in the expansion of doubt and complexity when given too much time to fester. This insight into human behavior underscores a critical life lesson, right? We are often our own worst enemies when it comes to realizing our dreams. The sensitivity of time in decision making isn't just about efficiency, it's about overcoming our internal barriers. So, by setting tighter deadlines for ourselves or by simply acting with the belief in our capabilities, we can bypass the self imposed hurdles that come with the extended deliberation, right? Parkinson's Law, in essence, teaches us that our dreams might take longer to realize, not because of external factors, but because of our reluctance to act decisively. Embracing this principle means recognizing that sometimes the best way to overcome barriers to our dreams is to just start, and to start now with whatever we have, trusting in our ability to adapt and succeed as we go. So on one hand, we talked about burnout, right? About doing too much. And then on the other hand, we're talking about Parkinson's Law, where if we aren't doing things in an appropriate amount of time, we could be inflating it too much. So where's the balance point between taking too much time and not having enough time? How do we find that balance between hustle and between just getting our goal done while continuing to experience lifestyle richness? That was the inspiration behind Bula Boss. Bula Boss is that balancing point, and it is that, again, 95% discounted executive support that helps this happen. So we wanted to create something that was affordable for everyone. Yet, I want to mention that even though if you've never invested in any sort of online program or education platform before, it may feel like a bigger investment. But when you take a step back and we look at the value of what that support can bring, we realize that this is exactly the type of investment that can help us tenfold all of our investment. So let's chat a little bit more about whether Bula Boss is the right fit for you and your non-alc business venture. And remember that kava is our muse, right? But you don't need to serve kava in order to benefit from the Bula Boss methodology of taking care of your community. So draw inspiration from what you'd like to bring more of into this world. So before Bula Boss, if you've never experienced it, you've been doing your thing on your own, just imagine your non-alc brick and mortar establishment, bar, lounge, bottle shop, or maybe you just work with brick and mortars. Maybe you are not based in one particular place, but we all at some point or another interact with people in the flesh, right? And no matter what our business structure and our business model looks like, every day can feel like a juggling act. Maybe you're dealing with everything from managing staff to navigating the ever-changing health codes to handling that one customer who's never heard of the ingredients on your menu or have never heard of the services that you provide, right? Your business might be doing okay, but you're stuck. You're feeling like you're just keeping the ship afloat rather than steering it towards new horizons. Let's say you enter the Bula Boss program, you're diving deeply, you're really, putting in effort, which means that you're receiving a lot of value in return. Now you're picturing this. You've got systems in place that make your business run like a well-oiled machine. Your staff is trained to not just serve, but to engage and educate your customers. And staff, by the way, those can be people, these can be contractors, they can be collaborators, it could be AI, right? But the thing is, you're not just surviving while you're doing this, you're thriving, and you're helping everybody that interacts with your business to do the same. You're also, by doing this, you are getting a 25% boost in sales because you've tapped into the latest marketing strategies and customer service techniques. You're even taking vacations, unplugged vacations, knowing that your business isn't just holding steady, but it's actually growing thanks to optimized processes and maybe even a little bit of AI magic. So here's the thing. The folks behind Bula Boss, aka myself and my husband, have been in your shoes. We have managed bars when the credit card processor decides it's had enough of your high-risk herbs, or when construction outside makes your place invisible. We've been through the ringer and come out on the other side with a treasure trove of knowledge and hacks. So inside of the actual Bula Boss program, not only is there in-depth knowledge, strategic skills, community, lifestyle, wealth, right? There is 40 lessons that you can take at your own pace. However, we do provide like a framework if you'd like to have kind of more of a structured schedule for it. And through all of those topics that you can access at any time, you can come into our live sessions that we have weekly, and you can talk to us about anything that's first off short-term coming up in your business. What are the dumpster fires you have to put out today? But also, what can you do to optimize your business to be able to take that unplugged vacation? What do you need to do to up-level your business in order to work a standard amount of hours, to be able to afford to have a team to take care of all of the dailies of your business so you can focus on the visionary aspect of the work that you are most drawn to because you started this, right? You're the visionary. We want to make this work for you. So I want to mention that there's so many tools that come with this program, right? Like I could tell you there's templates. You can bring all of your graphic design work. You can share files with me, whether that's on Canva, Google Docs, Notion, and we literally get into this work. Like, I'm not just your coach. If you're inside of this program, I am on your team. I am part of your executive staff. But the coolest thing is, because you're paying a program, you don't have to worry about any of the employment tax part of it, right? That's the cool part, because it's a service that we are sending an invoice for. So we've thought about this from every angle to be able to help. But I do want to mention that Bula Boss is not necessarily for everyone. Let's say you're in the startup discovery phase and you're just getting your feet wet in the non-alc business world. Bula Boss might feel a bit like jumping into the deep end before you've learned to swim. So for you, we created the discovery phase launchpad. And I genuinely believe that would be the best fit if you are in your first 90 days, where you are trying to figure out your business plan, trying to figure out your funding, what revenue streams you want to set up, and how. Because here's the thing, if this is all resonating with you and you're like, man, I want to be a Bula Boss, that's who I want to be, but you don't have anything put together yet. Right now, it's just a dream hanging out in your noggin. Start with a discovery phase launchpad, and that will help you. Again, this is a 3-month, 90-day program where we sit down. There are 3 major 2-hour plus long webinars where we really dive into the nitty-gritty of what you need to know to get started, and specifically what you need to know in order to maintain that lifestyle richness. We don't want you to burn out, right? We don't want you to add too much on your plate, but we also don't want you to expand what you think it's going to take to get it done. We want to be able to give you realistic expectations for how this business works, right? I've been in this industry ever since I have been a worker. I have been working in hospitality and service my whole life. I started, honestly, when I was 5 years old. Coffee is a huge thing in our house. And so I would be the one that would serve everyone their coffee. And I would start getting fancier and fancier as time went on. And I was really excited. Even though I was going to school for math, I really wanted to be a barista. I loved my job. I loved being a barista as much as I loved going to class. And then once I graduated, I was like, what do I do? Right? And it took me on this crazy path throughout multiple seemingly unrelated things that now, as creator of the Bula Boss program, I see how every single thing that's happened in life has led me to the point where I could create this program for you. And this truly is my calling. This is the thing that, for example, for me, I knew I wanted to make, me and my husband, I should say, we wanted to make a really big impact for as many people as possible. But the problem is, sometimes when you are trying to make an impact for people, it doesn't always work out when you are in one place in the way you want, right? And for us, we saw that there were logic knots that were a little bit beyond just the brick and mortar, right? There were some government regulations that needed to be taken care of. There's some public perception and education that needed to be taken care of. So we chose, even though we absolutely loved being in the bar every single day, we chose to move into this phase of entrepreneurship because we knew that this was the way that we could effectively make the industry not only a lower barrier of entry for anybody who's never been a bartender, who's never been in this situation before, but also so that we could help those who are currently struggling in the industry so they don't have to feel like, oh man, I made a $30,000 POS decision error and now I don't know if the business is going to survive. I don't want you to go through that. I want you to have a resource that's very affordable, truly less than the cost of your lunch every day. You could be in Bula Boss making sure that everything that you're building is for something, right? In the last episode we posted, which was the interview with Tea Time, right? We had Brandon and Steve Rivero, and we talked quite a bit about how, slow and steady wins the race, but also if you're not actively working towards something that means something to you, what's the fuel, right? What is propelling you forward? So, if you're ready to transform your business from a daily grind into a thriving, self-sustaining entity that lets you live the life you want, give Bula Boss a serious look. It's not just a program, it's a partnership in your journey to becoming the boss you've always wanted to be. Thank you so much for tuning in, and remember that your journey to success is a marathon, not a sprint. So keep pacing yourself and let's avoid that burnout together. If you have any questions, comments, concerns that have come up throughout this episode, please do not hesitate to send me an email, hello@marinamars.com. If you'd like to learn more about Bula Boss, go to marinamars.com/Bula Boss. That's spelled BulaBoss. And lastly, if the Discovery Phase Launchpad seemed more like your speed because you're just getting started, go ahead and visit marinamars.com/discovery phase launchpad for more information. I absolutely cannot wait to see you inside of the containers. And please just know if you need anything, just let me know.